Hi, I'm Luella. Until last month, I thought I knew what trust meant. My neighbor and landlady, Mrs. Winters, call me Diane, dear, had been like family since I moved into the duplex 3 years ago. We shared coffee on Sunday mornings, watered each other's plants during vacations, and she even insisted on throwing me a surprise party when I got promoted at the architectural firm. Luella, you're practically the daughter I never had, Diane said one evening as we sat on her porch. She twirled her signature pearl necklace between her fingers, a nervous habit I'd grown fond of. And you've been better to me than my actual mother. I laughed, sipping my tea. Speaking of which, she's asking when I'm going to buy my own place again. Diane's smile faltered slightly. Oh? You're not thinking of leaving, are you? Not anytime soon. I love it here, and the rent is perfect for saving up. Good, good. She patted my hand, her rings clinking against my watch. Because I'd miss our little chats. My colleague Marcus stopped by the next day to drop off some project files. He frowned when he saw Diane watching us from her window. Your landlady always this nosy? He asked, lowering his voice. Diane? She's just protective, practically adopted me. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Just saying my aunt was like that with her tenants. Super sweet until they mentioned moving out. Then things got weird. Diane's not like that, I insisted, though a tiny flicker of unease sparked in my stomach. If you say so. Hey, did you tell her about that house you looked at in Oak Ridge? I shushed him, glancing toward Diane's window. Not yet. It's probably nothing anyway. The following Tuesday, I came home early with a migraine. As I approached my front door, I heard voices and movement inside my apartment. I froze, then cautiously pushed the door open. 2 men in work clothes were in my living room, and from the sounds, others were in my bedroom. Excuse me? What's going on here? My voice came out higher than intended. A tall man with a tool belt jumped. Oh, Miss Parker, we weren't expecting you until 6. How do you know my... Mrs. Winters let us in. We're just doing the... upgrades she mentioned? He looked confused now. What upgrades? Another worker emerged from my bedroom carrying what looked like... camera equipment? Jim, we got all 3 installed, but the angle in the... He stopped when he saw me. I felt the blood drain from my face. Are those cameras? In my bedroom? Look, ma'am, we're just doing what we're paid for. Mrs. Winters said you approved the security system installation. I grabbed my phone. Get out. Now. All of you. After they scrambled out, I called my friend Zoe, a paralegal. Zoe, you won't believe what just happened. Try me, she said, the sound of her typing pausing. I came home and found workers installing cameras in my bedroom. Diane told them I approved it. The typing stopped completely. Luella, that's not just creepy, that's illegal. Have you looked around for other devices? No, Don't touch anything else. I'm calling my boss. This is serious. And Luella, don't confront Diane yet. Document everything first. An hour later, as I was photographing the half-installed equipment, there was a knock at my door. Luella, everything okay, dear? The workers said you sent them away. Diane's voice was honey-sweet. I didn't answer, but I heard her key in my lock. Before I could react, she stepped inside, her face a perfect mask of concern. Sweetie? Oh, you look awful. Is it another migraine? Looking at her kind, grandmotherly face, I almost doubted myself, until I noticed her eyes darting to the visible camera component on my bedside table. The next morning, I woke to aggressive pounding on my door. Through the peephole, I saw 2 police officers. My heart raced as I opened the door. Luella Parker? The taller officer's name tag read, Williams. We need to ask you some questions about a theft report. Theft? I don't understand. The second officer, Chen, consulted his notepad. Mrs. Diane Winters claims you've stolen personal items from her residence, including jewelry valued at over $5,000. I almost laughed from shock. That's ridiculous. I've never stolen anything from Diane. She says her pearl necklace and several rings went missing after you visited yesterday. The necklace she was wearing when I saw her installing cameras in my bedroom without permission? The officers exchanged glances. Cameras? Officer Chen asked. I invited them in and showed them the equipment. She had workers installing these while I was supposed to be at work. I came home early and caught them. Officer Williams frowned. That's concerning. But it doesn't address the theft allegation? I need to talk to my friend, I said, calling Zoe while the officers examined the cameras. They're here saying I stole Diane's jewelry, I whispered when Zoe answered. Don't say another word, Zoe instructed. Tell them you're invoking your right to remain silent until I get there. I'm on my way. After Zoe arrived and the officers left with the camera equipment as evidence, I started calling neighbors. Hi, Mr. Ramirez. It's Luella from next door. I need to ask you something about Diane. Luella, yes, what about Mrs. Winters? His accent was thick but warm. Have you noticed anything odd about her behavior lately? He hesitated. Well, she asks many questions about you. When you come, when you go. Last week she wanted to know if I had a spare key to your place for an emergency. I called 3 more neighbors with similar conversations. Then I reached out to previous tenants I'd found on social media. Absolutely, I remember Diane Winters, said Rebecca, who'd lived in my unit 5 years earlier. She seemed sweet until I mentioned buying a condo. Suddenly my mail went missing, my boyfriend got anonymous calls claiming I was cheating, and I found my apartment unlocked twice. Did you report it? To who? Nothing was stolen and I had no proof. I just moved out quickly. I called Marcus next and explained everything. I told you something was off with her. He sounded more concerned than vindicated. My cousin's a detective. Let me call him. Thanks, but I need someone who was there when she made statements about me. You mean like when she cornered me in the parking lot yesterday? I sat up straight. What? When? After I dropped off those files. She bombarded me with questions about your job, whether you were looking at houses. I deflected, but she got intense, saying she'd invested too much in you to lose you now. Marcus, would you be willing to tell that to the police? Absolutely. And Luella? Check your apartment thoroughly. My aunt used to keep insurance on tenants she liked too much. That evening, Zoe brought over her boyfriend, Drew, who worked in cybersecurity. He swept my apartment and found 2 additional cameras and a listening device. This is specialized equipment, Drew said, examining one tiny camera. Expensive. And look, this serial number shows it's part of a set sold to Winters Home Security. Diane doesn't own a security company, I said. No, but she created an LLC with that name 3 months ago. I found the business registration online. Zoe whistled. That's premeditation. Luella, we need to talk to Detective Rivera tomorrow. This is more than just a creepy landlady. Detective Rivera's office was small but organized. After reviewing our evidence, she called Diane in for questioning while I waited in another room with Zoe. 2 hours later, Rivera returned looking grim. She's denying everything. Claims the cameras were part of a security upgrade you requested. As for the theft accusation, she's sticking to her story. But what about the business registration? The serial numbers? I protested. Circumstantial. We need more. What about her previous tenants? Zoe suggested. Rebecca Watson said, hearsay without documentation, Rivera cut in. But there's something else. Mrs. Winters has filed multiple police reports about problematic tenants over the years. None resulted in charges, but it establishes a pattern. As we left the station, I saw Diane in the lobby. Our eyes met, and she approached, her expression a perfect blend of hurt and concern. Luella, dear, there's been a terrible misunderstanding, she said, reaching for my hand. I stepped back. Don't touch me. Sweetie, I was only trying to protect you. You're so naive, letting people like that Marcus character into your home. I needed to make sure you were safe. By spying on me? In my bedroom? It wasn't like that. And these terrible accusations, I would never steal from you and claim you took my things. My memory isn't what it used to be. I probably misplaced my jewelry. Her eyes welled with tears, and for a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the cameras pointed at my bed. You created a fake security company 3 months ago, I said flatly. That's not forgetfulness. That's calculation. Her expression shifted subtly. You've always been my favorite, Luella. I just wanted to keep you close, keep you safe. Is that so wrong? It is when close means invading my privacy and filing false police reports. I can make this right, she pleaded. I'll drop the theft complaint. We can go back to how things were. Nothing will ever be right between us again. Her face hardened. You ungrateful little... She grabbed my arm, fingers digging in. After everything I've done for you. Mrs. Winters? Detective Rivera appeared behind us. Remove your hand from Miss Parker immediately. Diane didn't let go. She's turning everyone against me. She's the one who should be arrested. 2 officers approached as Diane's voice rose to a shriek. You'll regret this, Luella. No one leaves me. No one. As they escorted her away, Detective Rivera turned to me. Assault in front of police officers and witnesses. Now we have something solid to work with. The temporary restraining order came through within hours. I stayed with Zoe while officers supervised Diane's mandatory psychological evaluation. The property management company is sending over a new lease agreement, Zoe said, passing me coffee the next morning. Diane's ownership stake is being managed by a conservator now. Marcus stopped by with takeout. My cousin says they found a treasure trove of surveillance footage in her computer. She's been watching tenants for years. And collecting souvenirs, Drew added. They found items belonging to former tenants hidden in her attic. Creepy shrine-type stuff. 2 weeks later, I returned to my apartment with a security team that swept for additional devices. The court date was set for the following month, with Diane facing multiple charges of illegal surveillance, filing false police reports, and assault. The day before the hearing, I received a handwritten letter. From Diane, Marcus said, examining the envelope. Want me to read it first? No, I sighed. I can handle it. The letter was 8 pages of alternating apologies, justifications, and thinly veiled emotional manipulation. My dearest Luella, I only wanted what was best for you. You were like the daughter I never had. I'm an old woman who made mistakes. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive me? I folded the letter and added it to the evidence file. At the courthouse, Diane's attorney approached me before proceedings began. Miss Parker, my client is willing to make restitution, a significant sum, plus covering your moving expenses in exchange for reduced charges. Not interested. She's an elderly woman with no prior convictions. A little compassion. Compassion? She invaded my privacy, tried to frame me for theft, assaulted me, and terrorized her tenants for years. The answer is no. Inside the courtroom, Diane looked smaller, her eyes red-rimmed as she watched me take the stand. When it was her turn to speak, she made a final appeal. Luella, please. I loved you like family. Everything I did was out of love. I met her gaze steadily. That wasn't love, Diane. That was control. The judge sentenced her to 2 years probation, mandatory psychological treatment, and prohibited her from contacting me or leasing property to tenants again. After the hearing, I met with Rebecca and 2 other former tenants who'd come forward. I never thought she'd face consequences, Rebecca said. Thank you for standing up to her. Detective Rivera joined us. The DA is reviewing other cases now. Your testimony opened the door for others. 6 months later, I moved into my new house in Oak Ridge. Zoe, Marcus, and Drew helped with the boxes. To new beginnings, Marcus said, raising a glass as we sat on my new porch. And to boundaries, Zoe added. I looked around at my friends, my real support system, and smiled. You know, the strangest part is sometimes I miss the person I thought she was. The person she pretended to be, Drew corrected gently. The person she pretended to be, I agreed. But I don't miss the looking over my shoulder, wondering if I was being watched or manipulated. Later, as the stars came out, I stood alone in my new backyard. For the first time in months, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. I'd learned the hard way that sometimes the people who claim to care the most are the ones you need to watch most carefully. Have you ever discovered someone you trusted wasn't who they seemed? What would you have done in my situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of triumph over betrayal.